Hi, I'm Ken. I usually work on my stamp collection in the dining room. It has a really big table. It's right over there in that room. But first of all, let's take a look at my new stamp cart. Occasionally, I want to work on my stamps in a different room than over there. My wife said to me, "Why don't you get a cart and move things into the other room, a wheeled cart?" Because before that, I was carrying stamps and albums and catalogs back and forth. And now I made this cart per my wife's suggestion. And I think it's going to help me a lot with being able to move my hobby around in the house. Let me take a moment and show you what we have here. So it's on wheels, obviously. Because it's on wheels, it moves around the house easily. You'll see me in the reflection in this video monitor, but that's okay. Well, let's take a look at this cart. So I've made this cart on a base of a moving dolly, a furniture moving dolly. So it's got nice, good, solid wheels on the bottom. This was a carpeted platform. For some reason, I left the handle you could move it by. I don't know why. It's just what I did. Nice, strong base that won't scuff up the floors. The second thing, then I added a section here for my catalogs. This fits a whole set of catalogs nicely. And then a whole section here for albums and stock books that I might be working on independently. This middle section here is a set of file cabinet drawers. These have both the nice feature of being all fitting in the thing, but they also come out and I can move them up to my dining room table without moving the cart in if I want, row by row. I picked up these file cabinet drawers from roadside salvage. Somebody had been throwing them out. They are old steel case filing cabinet drawers. I don't think people use these anymore, but they fit perfectly in this cart. So I made this section for the cart. Above that, I have a section here for some flat project stuff. I had this old box that I found. I added a handle to it. This box can kind of move anywhere around in here, but I keep things like my tongs, my magnifying glass, a watermark fluid, that kind of thing in here. So we'll put those up there. When I first put this in, I didn't put the handle in. It just fits so perfectly. But the handle really makes it a lot easier to work with. Notice that it fits Tupperwares that can have other things in it. When I first made this, the tabletop was a little bit flimsy. And so I took another piece of the board and I glued it up underneath here with Gorilla Glue. And that gave it a nice stability that I'm happy with. The other thing I changed as I was making this was here on the side, this was open. I originally thought that would be a good idea because an open edge would mean I could get into the back easier. But I found that the catalogs and the albums were kind of sliding out the side. So I added these side panels here to keep it from doing that. But I left it open at the bottom so I can sweep that out. And so I could reach in here. Same thing, open at the side so I can get into the deep areas there. Let's see. The other thing that's going on is on this tabletop, you'll see I have a whole bunch of mail here. This is mail that I've been collecting for a little while from members of the channel, viewers of the channel. I've been remiss in going through some of that, and I think it's time for us to take a look at some of that mail. Before we do that, let's spin the cart back around. And you'll see one more feature of it. I know it's not used yet, but you'll see here on the back I put a pegboard. It's a future-proofing kind of idea that at some point I might hang some things in the back here using the pegboard. There's plenty of space for that. So all in all, I'm very happy with this cart. We'll talk about what you guys do in your own space a little bit later. But let's get on to looking at the stamps and the mail you've sent me. First, let's look at two envelopes that Lena from Canada sent me. Lena sent these two lovely envelopes that are full of stamps. Alina sent me actually 3 envelopes, but unfortunately, only 2 of them arrived. And we're hopeful, both Alina and I, that that third package of stamps will arrive. The post office sometimes messes up things like this, especially stamps. I find that 2 things happen. One, they just somehow have a problem with thickness in envelopes, especially uneven thickness, and that's what stamps look like sometimes. The other thing is I think they just occasionally mess up mail, and mostly we don't notice because The mail they mess up is an advertisement we just don't care about. So anyway, Alina, thank you for sending these along. Let's take a look inside, and we'll both hope that that third package arrives someday. I did have one package from somebody take almost 3 months to arrive, so it is possible that it'll still show up on my door someday. So Alina sent me off 10 different packages, worldwide packages. Lovely stamps from lots of different countries, and I've gone through some of these, not with a fine-tooth comb, but I have gone through some of these and picked out a few that I want to highlight. But Alina, I think there's a lot of lovely stamps in here that I'm going to have a great time going through and checking for my collection. These are all wonderful. There's a lot of modern stamps in here. We've talked about that before. A lot of modern stamps and definitive stamps that are really kind of hard to get a hold of for a collector. These are things that dealers just don't bother with because the effort to save them is just too high, and buying them mint would require that you went to various post offices. And anyway, I like them used better anyway. Go to post office from all over the world and collect these. That's just too much work. But what I've done here is pulled out some stamps to highlight some of the best things that I found in this, and let's go over those now. The first one I want to highlight is this Jamaican stamp right here. I'll pop this up on the screen. We'll talk about it a little more with a bigger picture. Anyway, this Jamaican stamp right here, it says Independence, let's see, it says Independence 1962. Jamaica was a part of the UK prior to this independence in 1962, and now it's an independent monarchy. And I think that's a little bit weird because they're an independent monarchy with, honestly, with the Queen at the time as their monarch. That's a image of Queen Elizabeth. Now their monarch is King Charles. So while they're no longer part of the UK, they're still part of the Commonwealth, and they are a monarchy, and their monarch is still the British monarch. So that's just a fascinating detail here. It's something that I think is really interesting to look at in this stamp. I do want to point out the head on this stamp. We've talked a lot about Machin heads. This isn't a Machin head stamp, and we've talked about Gillick heads in the coin stamps and those outlines of stamps. This is not a Gillick head. This stamp over here from Hong Kong is a Gillick head. This stamp is actually a Wilding stamp from the Wilding photograph. So there's kind of three major images that the Queen has: the Machins, the Gillick heads, and this Wilding image. So fascinating image there. The second thing I want to highlight from this are some stamps from India. You'll see 3 Indian stamps here in the middle. I just love these Indian stamps, but again, these are stamps from a modern series that I didn't have yet in my collection. I had no stamps from this series in my collection, and now I'm thrilled to have these. Same thing's going on here with these 3 Hong Kong series, these Gillick head stamps. These are really beautiful designs. I had no stamps from this Hong Kong series, and so I'm thrilled to have pulled that out of this package. And then on this top row, we've got 3 stamps that I did have stamps from these series, but I didn't have these. These are modern issues: Famous German Women and Famous German Sights. Again, 3 stamps that I didn't have in my collection, and 4 here. These are very large sets. I'm particularly pleased to see these Women on Stamps series. So many countries only feature famous men. So this is nice, although many of the stamps on here are famous women when we include the Queen. And then this series is a long-running series of famous German sites, and I just love this series as well. So this second envelope from Alina, let's open it up, had a fantastic thing inside of it. Inside of here was a packet of worldwide stamps, but interesting to me was this package of Canadian definitive stamps. We'll take a look at these in a minute. These are just a ton of Canadian definitives. You know that I lean towards definitive stamps, and modern definitives in particular are particularly hard to get for me at a show. Dealers really don't want to stock these modern things. They're just not worth the effort. I've pulled out a few highlights from this packet, but this packet here, Alina, is really going to make a huge difference in my Canadian collection. I'm just thrilled to get it. I pulled out a few highlights to it. Let's take a look at some of these now. Okay, the second packet we have from Alina is this packet right here. I'm going to open it up and put it down on the table. Again, we had this worldwide collection we'll take a look at in a minute. We had all these Canadian definitive issues, but I really want to highlight a few of them from this packet here. There's a couple of these really nice high-value Canadian stamps that are from the National Park series. I didn't have those, and so I'm thrilled to add those to the collection. These are from another series that I was missing. These come in two different varieties, and these were one of the varieties I didn't have. And finally, this more modern definitive set has a lot of stamps that I didn't have in my collection. So, like I said, I have barely taken a stab at these stamps in here, but here are some of the highlights of what jumped out at me immediately that I knew I needed. Alina, thank you again for those wonderful stamps. They're going to make a huge addition to my collection. The next envelope we want to look at here is an envelope from the UK. Jono from the UK sent these along. I think I want to highlight one thing here. This stamp right here, stamp collectors are great about using real stamps on mail when they can. This stamp is a barcoded Maidenhead. It's the first barcoded Maidenhead stamp that I've gotten so far, so I'm thrilled to add this to my collection. Thank you, Jono, for including that. Inside of here, Jono has sent me a note, and he sent me this collection. I'll put these up on the screen, easier to see, but he sent me this collection of stamps from British South Africa. British South Africa during the period of World War I. Juno sent these along knowing that he was going to help me with my World War I collection. You know that I've been collecting stamps specifically in the World War I era. Let me pull out my album for that right now. Nice thing about having this cart is my albums that I'm interested in for a particular project sit right at my knee. So there's that album right there. I've marked the page here. I'll open this up and we'll look at these stamps in the context of the page I have. So these stamps are from the British South Africa, and those are them along the top two rows. Let's get those added to this page. So let's turn these stamps over so you can see them a little bit better. This is indeed most of the collection of British South African stamps. I think this is a really lovely set. It's got some really nice colors, some rather unusual color combinations, but I think they work really well for these stamps. I like these designs quite a lot. The only stamp that's missing from this set on British South Africa is the £1 stamp, and it's really not that unusual that you wouldn't have those ultra-high denominations for these stamps. Let me bring up the list of all the stamps that should be on this page, and indeed you'll see that I've captured the whole set here, including those two coil stamps, number 17 and 18. Let me show you those again. Yeah, 17 and 18 there on the bottom row. The other thing I want to point out is this note at the very bottom of my table that says other denominations in the series were issued after the war. And that's indeed true. So when I pop up the card as it was after I finished updating these pages, you'll notice that there's a few stamps on here that we didn't see on the other page. Maybe you won't notice, but you can trust me that the 1.5 pence, the 3 pence, and the 1 shilling 6 pence stamps were all not included on that page. Also on that second row, there's a 1.5 pence and a 2 pence coil stamp that weren't included on that page. The first three stamps, by the way, on this page, the 1/2, 1, and 2D, were the stamps I originally had on that page, but I had replaced them with the ones that Jono sent because I like the cancels on those stamps a lot better. Anyway, these stamps, except for those 1/2, 1, and 2 stamps, were all issued after World War I. I guess I could have put these stamps on that page with the series as part of that series, but I actually prefer to just have the stamps in my World War I album that were possible to be issued during World War I. I'll be able to add these stamps to my British Commonwealth album once I start to put that together, and I really do love these stamps, but they just don't fit in that World War I context for me. The other thing I want to point out on this sheet is the list of stamps along the bottom row. Those are all labeled British South Africa Company, and on the bottom it says Rhodesia.
So Rhodesia was a country that indeed was a participant in World War One, but I don't have a page in my World War One album for them. Rhodesia was a British Commonwealth country, and when I looked up in Wikipedia all the countries that had participated in World War One, there was a tiny footnote that I missed, just an error on my part. I guess Wikipedia could have been clearer about that. It said in that little footnote that there were British Commonwealth companies, it said other British Commonwealth countries that had participated in World War One, and in that footnote list, Rhodesia was indeed listed, as were a number of other British Commonwealth countries. I need to update and create pages for these Rhodesia stamps now, and I now also need to go make pages for my album to cover those other British Commonwealth countries that I hadn't accounted for properly. So I learned a lot in getting this packet of stamps from Jono. So this is fantastic for me. So a lot of work to do here, and I am excited to dive into that.
Thank you so much, Jono. That was a nice addition to my collection and also a really nice addition to my knowledge base. I hadn't realized I'd missed a whole section of World War One issues, and I really appreciate getting those Rhodesian stamps to help me figure that out, and we'll update that collection soon. Next, we have an envelope here from Joanne. Joanne from Virginia. Joanne is one of the people who responded to the share of stamps I did a while back. She sent me a note to thank me for sending her some stamps. Here's that note, a lovely note card. Joanne, I really appreciate your kind words for the channel. Joanne also sent along this stamp from Newfoundland, wondering if I had this stamp and if it would help my collection. Joanne, I do need this stamp. Thank you again, Joanne, for the nice note and the nice stamp from Newfoundland. Next, we have a cover from Lisa. Lisa is from Canada as well. And boy, you all want me to improve my Canadian collection. I can tell that for sure. Lisa sent me this lovely hand-drawn cover. I'll pop this up on the screen, and you'll notice also the hand-drawn stamp that matches it. Lisa, this is really incredible work. I really appreciate this. Let's open this up and see what's inside. So Lisa sent along this great collection of Canadian stamps, even more modern than the ones that we looked at before. These are also just a delight to add to the collection, and I just wanted to kind of set them out here so you get a sense of things. Oh, cover up the beautiful work that Alina did on her hand-drawn envelope. I just am amazed by that work. Oh, come on over. Also in this packet, Alina sent along this Canadian mounted booklet pane. Let me open that up and show you what's inside there. You'll notice that there are 4 stamps in here. This booklet is not fully filled out, and that's fine. On top of that is the stamp that actually originally belonged in this booklet, but the other 3 stamps didn't belong in the booklet. Let's pop up that booklet, what it would look like on the inside before this. What Lisa's done here, and I think this is just brilliant, is take some otherwise self-adhesive mint stamps and added them into this booklet that she had available to her. It's a brilliant idea about how to share mint stamps in the mail. I love some of the stamps here. I love this one here is a stamp for Canadian guide dogs, and it has a little bit of Braille print on it right there. Lisa points out this Eid stamp as one of the most beautiful stamps that's come out of Canada in a long time, and I have to agree that is a really beautiful stamp. The colors in there are just amazing. Thank you again, Lisa, for the wonderful hand-drawn cover. I really appreciate that. It's a nice addition to my collection. Next, we have a postcard here from Joe. Joe is from North Carolina. He sent me this lovely postcard in honor of World Postcard Day. I don't typically send out postcards for World Postcard Day, but I know a lot of you do. Lovely postcard. We'll pop that up on the screen to show you the bigger image of it. Look at the back of this one. Happy World Postcard Day. One of the peace button stamps. I love that stamp. That's a really nice stamp. World Postcard Day happens on October 1st every year. This one was 2024. They do include in that program a postcard that you can print out, although not everybody uses the pre-printed ones.
This is a really lovely postcard. Thanks for including me in your tradition of sending out World Postcard Day postcards. Next, we have Chris from New York. Let me pull this up. Oh, this is stuck a little bit, but that's okay. Chris from New York has sent me, we've mentioned him on the channel before, he sent me postcards that he's made using photographs that Chris took. So I think this is lovely. We'll pop this up and show that. On the back of it, Chris tends to put stamps from his collection. He collects low-value definitive sheets from different plate positions and plate numbers. So he winds up getting a lot of extras of these low-value stamps, and this is some of those. Chris, thank you for sending along another beautiful photograph of yours. I really appreciate that. Thanks for thinking of me there. The second thing Chris sent along was this postcard. This postcard is a picture of a flower cart in honor of my name, Ken Flowers. On the back of it is more of Chris's collection, some modern definitives from the new flower set. So we've got a whole flower theme going on with this postcard. So Chris, thank you very much for that. Now we're going to move on to another Canadian stamp. This one is from Michael, I think it is. Michael from Canada sent along this postcard. I think we're going to take a little bit of time to see what's in here because I think you're going to really enjoy these. Let me pull these out. In here are some high-value Canadian animal stamps, and I'm going to put these down and we're going to spend a few minutes looking at these, but you just got to see these stamps. Anyway, let's take a look at those. Okay, Michael sent along these most beautiful stamps that you just have to see in detail. First, let's pull these out and show these. There's a polar bear stamp. That's just beautiful. But this one here, this is a moose stamp. Beautiful, majestic moose stamp. We've got a Canadian goose coming up next. Canadian goose. In here is some deer and some sea lions, I think. Maybe walruses. Walruses. Those are just lovely. Let's take a look at this one here. This is a horse and, let's say, a peregrine falcon. Those are fantastic. The next two here are stunning as well. This one is a grizzly bear. Just love the detail on the fur of that grizzly bear. And then finally, let's pull out this one. This is one of the perhaps the largest stamp in my collection now. This is also probably the largest animal in the world. This is a blue whale. Just an incredible stamp. Each one of these stamps have details in them that are just micro fine details. There's paws or duck feet or things like that in the area in the background. I won't show you those details. Other people have done a better job with that. But I do want to point out one thing about this $10 whale stamps. And in order to do that, I need to pull out my UV light. So I pull out this UV light, and when you shine it on some Canadian stamps, you can see details. Let's hope that this shows up in this image. So I shine it right there, get in real close there. Hopefully you can see that. There's an image there of a diver swimming along with the whale that only shows up in UV light. So if I take the light away, no diver. If I put the light back, I hope you can see that. I think you can see that. There's a little diver in UV light. I just think that's an amazing detail. It was such a fun stamp set. Michael, thank you again for sending along those stamps. Those engraved animal stamps are some of the most beautiful stamps I've seen in a long time from any country, and I'm really thrilled to add them to my collection. They're just fantastic. Thank you, thank you. Next, we have a package from Martha from Wisconsin. Martha sent along a number of things. She sent along... Oh, this is a little bit loosey in here. She sent along these nice stamps from Germany. We'll take a look at those in a second. We've got these stamps from Germany. And then the third one here is some stamps from Iceland. Iceland is where Martha was born. And we'll take a look at these and how they fit in my collection as well. So let's take a look at that. Finally, she sent me another card, and the card includes a packet of stamps, worldwide packet of stamps, including this Tongan banana stamp that I think we've all seen and enjoy. So we'll take a look at that in a second too. And these are the German stamps that Martha sent along. First, I want to highlight that Germany is one of my main collecting areas, and I just love getting a lot like this to kind of sort through and find out where it fits in holes in my collection. The first thing I want to point out, though, are these stamps up here on the first two rows. These are from a series that was actually issued twice. First, it was issued in 1948, just after World War II, as part of the Russian zone of the divided Germany. These stamps were issued in the Russian zone with a watermark on the back of them that's a dark four-lobed flower. The other time it was issued was a few years later in East Germany, when East Germany became a thing in 1953. And these East German versions were issued with a very light DDR watermark with a post horn on it. I'll have to look at each one of these stamps to tell the difference. My suspicion, and I can't really be sure about this, is that the darker, dingier ones are from the older set and the brighter papered ones are from the newer set, but I'll have to check that out. Nice to have a selection of these. I don't have all these in my collection. The next one I want to point out is this one right here. This is a stamp from the 5-year plan of East Germany. It's overprinted, surcharged with 20. These stamps usually in the collector market was just flooded with these things, but they were usually canceled to order. That is, never used postally. But this one here, the cancel on it looks like it was used postally, and those are kind of uncommon. I have to check my collection. I probably don't have this postally used, and so it's always fun to come across one of these postally used. The other thing that's always fun here is all these inflation era stamps, and so we'll take a look at those. These are always just fun. I remember being really intrigued as a kid by these stamps that were like 1 million marks. So I'm a millionaire again. So these are fun. Moving on from this, on the back of one of these pages, this one right here, is stamps from Iceland. I want to pull out some of the Iceland stamps here. Hold on, I'm going to show you my Iceland album. My Iceland album is just one stockbook page. So I'm going to open that up and you'll see, let me just make sure that's on camera properly. Yeah, my Iceland album is just one page. And this first row is my 2 Lonely Greenland stamps. And on these 2 rows, I've got, 6 Iceland stamps. So I add these stamps to my collection, and this makes a huge difference to my collection. Let me pull this one out here. This makes a huge difference to my collection. Martha was born in Iceland, and so I think that's a nice thing to be able to share in the cultural history that she has from that country and really improve my collection here. The last thing I want to do is show you this mixed package that Martha sent along. Let me again make sure that's properly on the camera. Inside of this packet, I haven't gone through it totally yet, but inside of this packet is this Tongan banana stamp. Martha, before I get to there, Martha wrote me a note with this package, and she said, P.S. Sorry if there's fuzz on these. My pet skunk is shedding up a storm, and there are floofs everywhere. Floofs? I would think that the issue would not be fur from skunk. It would be something else. But indeed, this skunk is descented. Anyway, I have not found any floofs in this packet. But I did find this lovely Tongan banana stamp. This stamp just delights me, and I always wanted one as a kid. I think I now have one more of these in my collection. This is one of the very first self-adhesive stamps that was ever created. There was, I think Sierra Leone came out with them first, but this was like the second country to come out with them. So a very early example of a self-adhesive stamp in a lovely, interesting shape. I just love this stamp. So anyway, these are a lovely set of stamps to go through. Iceland, Germany, and mixed bag here. Once again, Martha, thank you for sending all these wonderful stamps along. I really appreciate everything you sent my way. I particularly enjoy being included in your cultural heritage from Iceland. It's made a tremendous addition to my collection in an area that I was otherwise very sparse in, so I love that. The other thing I want to highlight is that Millie the Skunk has her own Facebook page. If you go to Facebook and type in Millie the Skunk, Milly, you'll get a lovely Facebook page highlighting some of Millie's exploits, and I hope you'll take a moment to go look at what it's like to be a skunk parent. Anyway, thanks for sharing, Martha. Thanks for sharing Millie with all of us. And I think I will not be having a skunk as a pet, but you seem to really enjoy it, so that's great. Well, I certainly am going to have a good time going through all the stamps you sent me. It really is not necessary that you send me mail, but for those of you who do, I really appreciate it and enjoy what you send along and the well wishes both for the channel and myself. The other thing I want to do before we end here is just put out a call for the comments to tell me about your own personal workstation for working on your stamps. I'm curious where you work and what you find effective for you. Did you make yourself a cart? Is that how you do things? Anyway, tell me about how you collect stamps and where you collect stamps, and give me a better sense of how to imagine you in your workspaces working on your stamps.